A very good evening to you. You're watching Biz1st in Focus. This evening, as we have focused our attention on the economy, the political situation in our country, we are going to focus our attention to the construction sector of our country. Is there a lack of policy in terms of the construction sector of our country as well? What is happening to the labor force? Are there people coming in from foreign countries to work here in the construction sector? We are going to talk about all this and more with an eminent individual this evening, Dr. Surat Wickramasinghe, a veteran in the architecture sector and also the president of the Chamber of Construction. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
First of all, let me ask you, we'll move on from the problem to the solution of this sector. There are various things being said about the construction sector. They say that foreigners will come in and take the jobs of the Sri Lankan labor force. There is talk of the EDCA replacing the little minor jobs of the construction workers here. We know that over 200,000 Chinese workers are here in the country doing various infrastructure projects. What is this problem that you all talk of all the time?
The problem is the fact that there's a shortage of skilled and unskilled labor. Now in 2015, we had 600,000 skilled and unskilled labor in the construction industry, and our projected demand is 2,000 by 2018 is about 1 million. But unfortunately, there is a scarcity of people joining the construction industry for some reason. I think the reason being that there is inadequate publicity,
right?
So that particularly the young, they don't know about the construction industry. The construction industry today is a transformed industry. You see, the technology is different, not like in the past.
Right.
So therefore, everything is mechanized or it is computer aided. So naturally, the young people should get attracted, but I don't think this message is going across.
Right.
Then the other thing is the fact that when a young person leaves school, they look at easy money, quick money. The visible factors are the three-wheeler or becoming a security guard or something similar. But unfortunately, as I mentioned before, that pull factor by the construction industry is not there.
But the popular belief, sir, is that the construction sector is a bit more lucrative than the two examples that you mentioned. But still you're telling me that there are less attraction, there is a less attraction.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, they always like to easy way out.
Yes,
they feel that the construction industry means you have to work late evenings, late nights, and you know. But as you quite rightly say, the remuneration is fantastic. Now, if you take a young graduate or say you start with a young graduate, he starts with about 60,000+ with a contracting organization. Consultants can't pay that much.
Yes.
But then the labor is similar. The labor today, a skilled person is about between 3,500 to 4,000. But the maximum three-wheel driver can earn is 30,000.
Yes.
So 3,000 per day or 4,000 per day, you can work it out, is quite a tidy sum.
Taking a look from there, we see a number of constructions coming up in Colombo and in the Greater Colombo area as well. These constructions use a lot of people coming into Colombo from the villages and so on and so forth. But we also see a very high number of maybe Indian workers, foreign nationals, Chinese people. What is the situation there? Does this have a worrying situation for the Sri Lankan youth who are, maybe trying to engage in coming into the construction sector?
Actually, the required numbers are not coming from overseas.
Right.
Now I know they have on a few mega projects, they have about 30% of the Indian labor. Or as you say, the Chinese projects, they might even have 70–80% of the Chinese labor.
Right.
But all depends on the Board of Investment. Now they give certain projects where they know that they can't obtain the skilled people. They give a grant, not a grant, but they give permission to import
this many people
from outside.
Right.
So that I think is a good thing, and I think we should encourage it some more because of the anticipated projects that you talk about. I mean, Colombo alone over the next 4 to 5 years, there will be about 50 more high-rises coming.
Right.
Already you can see the skyline, and not only in Colombo city, but also spread out into the suburbs. So therefore, this momentum will not stop.
When it comes to these constructions that we speak of, yes, if it's a big company, a big name that is doing the construction, there might be a sense of security in terms of the quality of the product. But these youngsters who are coming in, doing the day jobs, doing the day laborers' work, where is the quality? Who ascertains the quality?
No, actually, now they get it on site, on training.
Right.
But they can also, the government has a lot of facilities provided where they can go and train as a mason or a carpenter or electrician or a plumber. But these guys don't go.
Right.
And so there's a shortfall of the training. The training institutions are short of people. So now that is there to answer your question on the specific areas. But I think, so they have on-site training plus the training at a normally vocational type of training. So the tragedy is that this is not very encouraging to the young.
We also know the situations that happened in our country in the past. We saw a building completely collapsing in Belawata. There have been several other construction sites that were causing injuries to the people who were living around them. With what I said earlier, with the number of these high-rising mega structures that are coming in the vicinity of Colombo, is there that sense of security? I'm talking to the architecture within you, Dr. Vikram Singh. Is there that sense of security when do you think that all the architectures follow the basic principles of, making the structure secure and making fire escapes and all of that? Do they take that into consideration?
Actually, there are two sectors. One is the formal sector, where the traditionally established firms like John Keel's or Prime Land or Blue Mountain or I don't know, so many other established organizations. Then down in the Rajagiriya side, they have so many other new developments coming. Now those are done properly. They have got qualified architects. They go to qualified architects or go to firms of architects. They employ the right type of structural engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, so that they produce, and I can guarantee that the quality is perfect. There is no issue.
Right.
They even get their structure not checked by one engineer, but they get their structure rechecked,
right,
reviewed by another engineer. So therefore, it's very safe. But then the informal sector, now they hire an architect and an engineer. They get them to sign the application form to the municipality or the UDA, and now those guys we cannot talk about.
Yeah.
Now, according to the minister, there is about 1,800 unauthorized structures within Bamlapitiya and Vellavata or Dehivala.
Yeah.
So now that is the tragedy. Now, there is nobody to monitor them. So I think there must be a monitoring process on all buildings, maybe not on a daily basis, but periodically at least, to ensure that the quality standards, the fire standards, the other safety standards are all maintained. And most of all, that the design of the structure itself, whether it is stable, that must be established, because otherwise this tragedy will occur. And they are also building on reservations.
Yes.
Now those things should be stopped.
With that, Dr. Vikram Singh, we will have to go into a short commercial break. When we come back, we are going to discuss about the recent flooding situation that happened in Colombo as well, and what the architectures or the construction sector can do to prevent something like this from happening in the future. Stay with us. You are watching Biz1st in Focus. Welcome back. You are watching Biz1st in Focus. We are in discussion with Dr. Surat Wickramasinghe regarding the constructions that are in the Colombo and the Greater Colombo area. Doctor, before going into a break, I promised our viewers that we'll be discussing about the floods that happened recently in our country. A good outlook for the construction sector in the future, because all these constructions will have to be redone with regard to the flood. But the sad situation is this happened in our country and lots of lives were lost. The construction sector is also partly responsible. What do you have to say to this? Actually,
the floods are not new to Sri Lanka. floods happen every year. Now, last year there was devastation that we all saw. The whole of the Kaliniganga, that sector there was inundated with water, and there were so many lives lost. Now, this time it's the Kaluganga.
Yes.
And so the same situation has happened. It's repeating from side to side. But now so drastic action must be taken to solve this problem, because otherwise next year also it will happen, and then all the politicians will say, oh, there's 200 dead, but we are doing something about it. But actually, in physical terms, they must do something. We had a seminar, our chamber, only about 3-4 months ago, and one of the findings was that upstream on the Kaluganga, that there should be near Ketulgala, that area, a huge reservoir. Huge reservoir to capture the water coming downstream from the hills. So then allowing for the water to come down, say about Avisavello or whatever that is, some area, a selected area, you have to get the irrigation department to advise you. Then you have to have another huge reservoir.
Right.
So then that can capture some other downstream water. And coming to Colombo, then there must be another mechanism, like in Malaysia. In Malaysia, what they do is that they try and divert the flood water into a tunnel.
Right.
I saw it, into a tunnel, and the tunnel will direct the water to other lakes and various other areas which you have to create.
Right.
So this way, we are also capturing the water. We won't allow it to get pumped to the sea. That's what is happening today. Even the Kaluganga or the Kaliniganga, the flood water gets pumped to the sea.
But who is going to pay for all this?
No. The payment, I mean, this the government has to do. This is a government expenditure. You can't expect the private sector to go and invest in reservoirs.
Yes.
But their infrastructure they must maintain. Otherwise, your first question, this flooding will happen. Now, the Kaluganga also, I think the same concept can work. Get them upstream, downstream, and reduce the quantum of water, the volume of water going into the sea. Therefore, the flooding aspect will be minimized, absolutely minimized. Now, that's the long-term solution to the problem. So, that the other important factor is that according to the water board, by 2025, there is going to be a shortage of water, particularly in the Colombo region. Now, how are you going to meet that shortage if you don't have catchments conserving the water?
So now we have excess of water, and then you're saying...
No, another 6 months' time we will have a shortage. So this is the tragedy. So therefore, I mean, I don't know. This is a national priority, and the government must take it seriously. I mean, they are not taking it seriously.
Who does the chamber answer to? Who is the minister in charge? Who is the
We have the Ministry of Construction. We come under them. But that has nothing to do with this flood problem. It's a national problem.
But in terms of handling these constructions and the responsibility of the government, we see the responsibility of the government is that they want more vehicles and things like that. They don't really focus on the main issues.
If that is their priority, then we will have this
problem going on. Coming back to our topic, Dr. Vikramasinghe, I wanted to ask you about the EDCA deal as well earlier. Things like EDCA, you said that there should be labour coming into the country because there's a lack of skilled and unskilled labourers here. What can the chamber do? There are new laws that are coming in, things like the anti-dumping law. What is the stance of the chamber when it comes to these type of things?
No, actually, the anti-dumping law, now there is a law passed in Parliament.
Yes.
But the act to regularize the dumping is delaying. I mean, this is a very dangerous matter. So I think the government must take some action soon to get this act passed with the regulations to prohibit the anti-dumping. Then I think we also discussed this question of imported labour. And our chamber, in fact, has come up with several solutions on how to circumvent this problem, and talked about training facilities and recruiting, and given so many solutions to the government. But so far, as I said before, they haven't contacted us or taken our. We met ministers and everybody.
Right.
But unfortunately, nothing has happened.
Dr. Wickramasinghe, when it comes at the start of the program, I said that we have been discussing political issues, economic issues on this program. Something that has been common to all these industries is the lack of policies when it comes from the government. Whether it be an investment policy, national security policy, things like that lack in our country. In terms of construction, what is the intervention of the government? What role does the government play? Or is it a completely private sector thing? What is going on?
Actually, construction industry is protected. We have an act passed in Parliament after many, many years. So the industry is protected.
Right.
But what happens is that the other factors that where we are also allied are not looked at adequately on national policy matters. So that is what is lacking. Now you asked about the flood thing.
Yeah.
Then there is the garbage thing. Then there is so many other areas, skilled labor. Now, unfortunately, there is no discussion, no dialogue between the private sector and the government.
There is a gap there.
There is a gap. There is no continuous dialogue.
Yeah.
And so as a result, we are facing lots of these issues.
We promised the viewers that we will move on from the problem to the solution, but we are still in the problem area. There are various expressways being built. We saw the Southern Expressway, the Katnayaka, the OCH, the Outer Circular Highway. We now know that there is a expressway or a second tier being built in the Rajgiri area as well. The labor that is being used for these constructions, are they of quality?
No, the labor is not an issue, because the technology that they use for constructing expressway is also different.
Right.
I mean, I'm not an engineer, but I know that that's a different technology. There are no issues on that. So the labor for construction and labor for expressways are the same.
Yeah.
So the problems remain the same. There will be a shortage of labor once the expressway starts going.
Yeah.
But I think the second part of your question is, now how do you solve this?
Yes, definitely.
How do you get this
we'll
moving?
Move on to the solution.
Yeah, because I think so far the government is only waiting for foreign investment and foreign investment from different countries. But I think that's that they must try and rethink, because there are lots of local firms that I know, contracting firms, with adequate, with huge capability to obtain finance from overseas.
Right.
So that if they are given a chance, they can do some of the projects independently without going only to Japanese and Chinese and Koreans and Indians and people like this. So I don't know why that won't happen, because then I think now, for example, the Colombo Candy is still under negotiation, one section of it.
Yes.
So now they can offer that.
If this is given to a private sector of our
as
country.
an alternative, they can bid together and see whether the costs are competitive.
With that, Doctor, we will have to go into another short commercial break. Stay with us. You are watching Biz1st in Focus. We will be back. Welcome back. You're watching Biz1st in Focus. This evening we are in discussion with Dr. Surat Wickramasinghe, who is the President of the Chamber of Construction in our country, about the construction sector. We promised you that we will be going from the problem to the solution, but we took 2 segments of our show to discuss what the problem is. Now I'm going to talk to Dr. Wickramasinghe and see what the solution is. Doctor, before I get to the solution, I have one more problem. If I am to buy a plot of land in our region in Colombo, the land prices are going up day by day, skyrocketing in fact. Is there an artificial price increase happening, or why is there so much demand? Yes, obviously it is Colombo, but there is an artificial increase that looks like because of the new apartment complexes that are coming up, new structures that are coming up. What is happening in terms of the land prices?
Actually, land doesn't increase now. So you have to create land opportunities. Now that is what the other countries do by introducing urban regeneration. Now, urban regeneration is a process where you take the underserved land, in other words, slums and shanties and warehousing and all that, and you relocate that in and sort of other areas, maybe in the suburbs of Colombo. Then you take their land then there will be at least 1,000 acres liberated. Now this land, if it's pooled, your land prices will come down. So what we are trying to do is to maintain the same fabric of what we have in terms of slums and shanties and warehousing within Colombo. They are not moved out, so naturally the available land is much less. So therefore, if the prime land, if it is a question of prime land, then prices will naturally fly. But some of these slums and shanties are on prime land.
Unfortunate situation.
So this is the answer to your question.
Yes.
You must liberate that land.
When it comes to the raw materials, you're in the construction sector. Raw materials, same story, skyrocketing day by day. Is there people coming in from smaller construction sectors are finding it very difficult to survive because of the high labor costs, so on and so forth? What is the future for them? Not the mega people, the mega constructors, but the small scale constructors in the country.
Actually, whether it's a small scale builder or a large scale builder, the cost of materials is the same. Now, for example, you take sand. Now, a cube of sand is 18,000 rupees. 18,000 rupees. So, at 18,000 rupees, how many people can afford? So, therefore, we must have a mechanism of at least selling that sand at 50% less, because they are banning the sea sand harvesting. So, then you must have an alternate.
Yes.
So, in my mind, we must get the sea sand, then launder the sea sand and make it safe to use, and then market it. Then you can market it at about 9,000 rupees.
Right.
I think, or maybe less, or up or down. But my point is, that is the answer. But then the private sector, people like our chamber, are not given an opportunity by this government. They are having the monopoly,
right,
and they don't want anybody else to come and look into it. Now, I think the reclamation board, they have the full monopoly of the sand harvesting from the sea.
Yes.
But now, even if from areas as far as Chilav or Putlam, if the private sector is given an opportunity, then they will harvest and bring it down. So that is one way of dropping the price down. The other thing is the fact that the rate of construction that's going on at the moment, Sri Lanka have no timber, they have no cement. Cement is of course we have, but the total volume we can't meet. Then steel and other components we have to import anyway. So the small builder won't be affected in that, or small.
Yes.
But there the country will have to look at. But that is why the cost of construction is going up, and not it's shooting up.
In regard to the government's role in all of this, is there a role of the chamber where the government seeks advice from you with regard to the problems in the construction sector?
They used to, but not on a regular basis.
Does it happen now?
No, it doesn't
Not
happen now.
at all.
No.
So do you know of a situation where the government is seeking any advice from anywhere with regard to the construction sector?
I don't, not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
So
we have a bulletin every month. We produce one, and we talk about all what you are asking me. But there is no feedback.
And there is no dialogue between any stakeholder, the government, with regard to the construction sector at present.
No. Some of them are members of our chamber.
Right.
Some of the government agencies are members of our chamber. So such institutions, we have a rapport. And
but can it operate like that? Can it operate with two different segments working on a parallel line without it being amalgamated at any point? The government has to be there with the private sector as well. There has to be a communication at some point.
Well, that's what happens in other countries. That's what happens here. It's a question of taxing the local industry, but not a give and take basis. It's a one-way road. But I think even now, if the government talks to us, we know ways of dropping the price down.
So if at least someone connected to the government is watching the show, maybe they'll contact Dr. Wickramasinghe and get through and get some solutions to all the problems that we have in terms of the construction sector. You have brought our conversation to an interesting point, Dr. Wickramasinghe. We have only 2 minutes more, but let me ask you, taxing. You mentioned taxing. All across the board, we see taxation happening. Construction sector is the same. What is your view on the taxing that is happening on the construction?
I think it's 15% on VAT and 2% on national building tax. But then there are also, I don't know what other new taxes will be brought out. So
we have a new finance minister who has.
Yeah, we will have to. If we can, we might even go and talk to him. But what is important is that the Chamber of Construction Industry comprises of so many different specialities. We have all the experts in the different professions. Then we also have the mega contractors. We have also the traders, the manufacturers, merchants. Everybody is in this chamber. Yeah. So it's not a one-man show. So therefore, the government will have a benefit if they have a dialogue with the chamber.
Very quickly, I want to focus your attention on the Ministry of Megapolis as well. There are things happening in Colombo and suburbs from the Ministry of Megapolis as well. What is the stance of the Chamber of Construction with regard to the activities of the Ministry of Megapolis developing Colombo?
Well, actually, I haven't seen anything. I don't think even the act is passed yet. So I can't see them progressing for many more months. I mean, they have a wonderful concept, but when they are going to implement, I don't think even the minister knows.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wickramasinghe, for joining us on Biz1st in Focus. As always, it is great to have you. You were on Face the Nation, one of our regular programs as well. Thank you very much for being here with us, watching Biz1st in Focus this evening. Next week too, we will have an interesting guest like Dr. Wickramasinghe joining us in the studio. Take care.